Hello, everybody. We are just giving our folks a few minutes to log in. We have a big group today. Hi, Alan. About 300 of you guys. So we're just going to take a minute to log everybody in, and we'll get started a couple minutes after 12. So give us just a second, but we're excited to have you guys here today. Thank you. Yes, for those of you that are already asking, I will tell everybody once we get all started, but we are going to record and redistribute everything that's covered today. So we won't need to sign you in. We'll just know that you're online. We see you tracked. It's not for continuing education today. This will be a webinar, so it's informational. Hi, Dan. Hi, Carmelita. Right. One couple more minutes and we'll get started. Looks like you guys are all coming in pretty quick. I see a couple of messages from folks asking about logging out early. We will be recording and redistributing the message to the program today. Of course, it's always better if it's live. So if you can stay on, stay on. But otherwise, this is not for continuing education. It's for information. So you don't have to worry about popping out early if you need to. And you will get a copy of the slides, Monica, just in case you are wondering. I'm sure the rest of you are too. Okay, we're going to wait one more minute and then we will get started. Sally, you can ask questions in the chat. And if we need more expansive discussion, we can always pull somebody up to speak out loud if we need to. All right, it is 12:02. We want to be respectful of everybody's time. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar, How to Cancel Tax Season. My name is Rita Blevins. I am the HAR Director of Professional Development, and I'll be here today to assist you with questions throughout the program. And I am guessing you are all here today because you, like me, get a little stressed when it becomes time to file your taxes. Maybe you have an expert who handles everything for you, or you go at it alone. I know as solopreneurs, as Formations calls you guys, you have unique situations. So I'm sure that you're often left wondering if you paid too much, if it was processed correctly, if you left money on the table, or if you missed important deductions altogether. So today I think we're going to cover some ideas and some topics or some content that'll help you guys with that. So today's program is presented by Patrick Ulp and Amanda Lampert with Formations Corporation. This webinar is the first in a series of learning opportunities for you that will be centered specifically around financial wellness and preparations for you as realtors, contract and folks that have unique situations. So we're going to come back near the end of the program to provide you information about the next webinar that's going to be held in April. But before we get started, and I know I mentioned it a little bit earlier, if you have questions, put them in the chat throughout the afternoon. You can choose for those questions to go to everyone or just the panelists. We will address as many questions as we can and as much time permits. And as you know, I know you guys are asking, so yes, this will be recorded. It is being recorded. It will be available later on the HAR TV YouTube channel. Of course, watching live is always a better experience. We'll also redistribute this via email to everybody that's registered. We'll include some special links that are discussed throughout today in that email to you. This is not a continuing education credit course, so you don't need to be on camera and you don't need to be officially signed in, but we'll know you're there. So let's go ahead and get started. Amanda and Patrick are here as business consultants with Formations. They are dedicated to educating, supporting, and empowering self-employed professionals such as yourselves with the tools needed to make better financial decisions. As we discussed, many solopreneurs struggle with balancing the act of managing back office tasks while growing your business. They understand the challenges that the self-employed face on a daily basis and have developed solutions that will give you insight into your business financials and help you secure your future. So please help me in welcoming Amanda and Patrick. I'm going to go ahead and pass the virtual floor to you guys.
Thank you so much, Rita. And it is a pleasure to get to share with y'all this morning. For background, I was introduced to Rita through Micah Sanders, who I can't say thank you to enough for this opportunity. She's a part of a leadership program right now. We'd had a conversation and she said, you know, I think what we're talking about might be great for the broader Houston area realtors audience. And so she put us in touch about a month ago or so, maybe 6 weeks, and we have got the ball rolling. And so we're really excited because we will be sharing information here this month, next month, and then in May as well, from everything around tax strategies to how to maybe shore up your back office a little bit, to other things that are really, really important from a financial standpoint for real estate agents that maybe just don't get talked about enough. And so we are happy to be here with HAR as resources and to help provide some education as well. So if you're a broker here in the audience and you'd like to connect, I am dropping a link into the chat right now that would connect you either with myself or with my colleague Amanda for afterward. Also, if for whatever reason you have to jump early, if you had questions that you felt like weren't answered, please just book 15 minutes on our calendar. That's what we're here for. Amanda will tell you a little bit more about Formations here in just a minute, but safe to say we talk to real estate agents all day, every day. They're about 90% of the customers that we serve right now. So we know real estate agents and their taxes better than just about anybody, I think. So it's great to meet you. So again, my name is Patrick. I'll let Amanda tell you a little bit about herself. I've been with Formations now for about 18 months as a business consultant. I have the privilege of talking to agents and brokers and broker owners every single day about things that maybe they don't want to talk about, but are super necessary. And so we really seek to create a safe space to encourage people to get on top of their back office, to get on top of their finances, because we know what gets measured gets managed. And if we can help come in, provide some ideas, some systems, some tools that you can use to help you save money, time, or stress, then that feels like a win-win situation for us. So Amanda, why don't you share a little bit about yourself? And take us into a little bit more about Formations as well.
Oh yeah, I'd love to. I'm Amanda Lampert, and I've been with Formations just shy of 2 years. Prior to working for Formations, I did actually work for a $4 billion company for about 10 years, helping them to train and grow their sales representatives. So I know that you do so much when it comes to driving your business as a solopreneur. You don't necessarily have an HR department like so many other sales professionals have, and you are also the marketing department. Prior to working for a big corporation, I also worked for a farmer. So those of you who are connected to the little guy, the community, and know just how challenging it can be to manage books and understand what is actually a deduction and what tax structure is best for my business, I empathize with you greatly. And my biggest passion is making sure that you're successful and that you have the training and education and support that you need. So today, Patrick and I will share a little bit about formations and how we help people, what type of consultations we provide, and where we really work when it comes to helping self-employed individuals know what systems are in place in the tax code that maybe the IRS's marketing department, what marketing department, doesn't really let us know is available. So our goal today is to introduce a little bit of who we are. We're an offshoot of a traditional tax and accounting firm. We have over 20 years of traditional taxes under our belt with our professionals from enrolled agents, CPAs, tax attorneys. But we really found that at the traditional tax and accounting space that there wasn't quite the solution for those who are specialized in real estate or specialized in self-employed taxes. So we wanted to create formations as a place where people who are self-employed not only have everything that they need to run their back office, from bookkeeping. If you're an S corporation, those of us on the call already, you know that payroll is a requirement. Having a payroll provider in place, having somebody who really understands how busy you are and can give you education and not just give you a yes, no, or maybe isn't available to give you the consultation that you deserve to in order to really treat your business like a business because their books are full with maybe larger clients. We wanted to create a democratic space where you can do what you need to drive your business. So Formations is a place where we really put people first. We believe we're here for a reason because our product that blends technology and the advancements in the financial world, bringing taxes into a newer space where we can offer you more control, more visibility, more access. That's why Formations exists, is that we know that you are an underserved community. So some of the services that we provide, just so that you know, we do business entity review. Are you in the right business entity for you? Are you missing out on a different opportunity that maybe nobody told you you could restructure yourself as? We also do bookkeeping and taxes and payroll and consultation. So if any of these are sexy to you, we encourage you to talk to us. If you feel like there's a miss between your professional or you don't have a professional, we're here to help. And really everything that we lean on first is education. We want to inform you and empower you. And that's our biggest priority. So if anything today, we hope that you have some great kernels from us and what we are advising people on day in and day out, 365. Taxes never sleep, even though we do. So we're here to provide just some of those highlights and important things to take away for 2022, and maybe one or two action steps that you can take right now that will already make 2023 a little bit of a better experience for you. So I am actually curious, with so many people on this call, if we could just hear from you. If you can put in the chat, grab your phone and tell us, are you a sole prop, a solopreneur, or are you an LLC already? Are you already an S corporation? That will help us curate this information and make sure that we see our audience. And we got great participation. Thank you. Thank you, Houston. This is perfect. So without further ado, here at Formations, we're based out of Kirkland. We can help anybody who is in Texas, and we know that you do things a little different in Texas. But that being said, okay, LLC filing as an S Corp. Okay, this is amazing. We're so excited here. Thank you so much. Okay, Patrick, you're in charge of acquiring that information and distilling it down. What I would like to do is talk a little bit about some stats. So try to stay with me because this is helpful, not to explain you to you, but I wanted to share what happened in 2022 and 2020 that I think is just a little bit revealing for what the lay of the land really is. So Patrick, if you don't mind taking me to our first shocking statistic for the day. I wanted to share with you that we're aware that everybody is different, and that especially in Texas, you're very known for being different, but that also you might have a different relationship to your finances than somebody that you know. And we're really aware that financial conversations can be uncomfortable because there always is a little bit of shame, almost like dirty laundry, like we're not supposed to talk about our finances with one another. And then what it really does is it leaves us in this place where we're overpaying because we're not informed and we're not talking to one another. So I just want to share that Patrick and myself and everyone here at Formations are non-judgmental. We've heard it all. You know, we know that you might have back taxes that keep you awake at night, but really this conversation is to help you understand that you're not alone. And so first things first, in 2020, there were over $220 billion paid by those who were self-employed with the self-employed taxes. Also, if you have no idea what your business entity is, you're probably a solo entrepreneur, sole prop. So that's fair. That's been told before. But really here at Formations, in our opinion, if you don't know where you're at, you don't know where you're going. And so this leaves us in a space where we're typically overpaying on taxes. So if you feel like you have the sense that you're overpaying on your taxes, it's always worth it to have a conversation. One thing that I find incredible to note is that there's a system in place for you where you can actually save 60% of your bill. So quick math, not to bore anybody, but if we were to think as a collective from the $220 billion, if we could save 60% of our self-employment tax bill on that alone, that would be $130 million collectively that we kept in our pockets, that we could put in our community and use those funds however we want. So if you, yes, 220, that's so much. We want you to think about this, you know, large scale. What could we all be doing in our communities, in our places that we believe in? But if we were to think about this on an individual level, you know, Formations is a place where you can save 60% of your self-employment bill. I want to share, for example, we had one person that we just finished their taxes from this year. They saved $19,000 on their self-employment bill. So that was 60% reduced. I just think about $19,000. It's almost 20K. If you had that year over year in just 5 years, you would save $100,000. And so I think about what that 60% not only means on a collective level, but what it means on an individual level. It could be a vacation that you never took. It could be maybe a place where you worship. You could give back to that community. It could be paying for somebody's education in your family. Maybe you want to send one of your kiddos to college and have some extra funds. It could be an early retirement. Instead of retiring at 80 because maybe you're not putting anything away because you're overpaying on taxes, you could give yourself a retirement contribution. So we really want, an investment property, that's great, especially you in real estate. You see 3/4 of the nation's wealth. So you've got an eye for evaluating properties. That 19,000K is a great investment for your next property. And that could be your retirement right there. So if nothing else, I want you to start thinking differently about your taxes year over year. What can you do to squirrel a little bit more money away? And there is a system in place. So here at Formations, we did help people save on their self-employment taxes, but self-employment is not the only name of the game. Right now, I just want to take a moment to define a couple of terms that will be used throughout this session that are synonyms. So you might have heard of self-employment taxes, FICA taxes, Social Security, Medicare, payroll taxes, quarterlies. When we talk about any of these as a self-employed individual, you are typically paying more than double what a W-2 employee is paying. And we just think that that's not fair. So when we talk about 60% of your self-employment tax bill, it's not that you aren't paying taxes, you're still doing your fair share, but fair is really the name of the game. And we don't want you overpaying just because you're self-employed. So FICA, Social Security, and Medicare are all going to be synonyms in this call for self-employment tax bill. So I just wanted to make sure that we all felt empowered and knew exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about S corporations. I think you had a 2020 fact though that you wanted to share, Patrick, about S corps.
Yeah, so in 2020, and I realize we're a couple of years ahead of that now, but in 2020, out of 8 million S corporations, only a fraction were self-employed individuals. So S corp, small corporation, We didn't create that system. It's already been there for us. It's been there since 1959, but there are only a handful of people who are really educated enough to take advantage of it. So if you are an S corporation, what led you to jump into that? Maybe drop that in the chat. If you're not, what's holding you back? And I have seen some questions specifically around, should I be an LLC? Should I be an S corp? Those are great questions. Keep popping those into the chat. And again, I'm just going to continue to encourage the heck out of everybody. If you have questions, we have the meeting book link there for you to talk to us one-on-one, because I'm sure that we're going to be fielding a ton of questions today, and we'll get to as many as we can, but please also take the time. We're happy to just provide education for people as well. So the other thing that we've seen is that 8 out of every 10 1040 returns that we've reviewed have been overpaying on their taxes significantly. So I think a great example is that when I very first started, one of the very first customer calls I was on was actually with Amanda, and we were talking to a broker in Denver, Colorado, and she had been an S corporation already for a little while, and had a very good accountant who was doing her paperwork, dotting the I's, crossing every T, making sure that her accounting and her bookkeeping was solid. He was in like the top 99th percentile of accountants whose returns that we reviewed, that it was just flawless. And we were still able, in taking a look at that, to identify $30,000 that she had left on the table because she hadn't been contributing to retirement. So 8 out of every 10 1040s that we see people overpaying. And really what we're trying to do is help people never overpay on taxes ever again. And really, we're going to get into the idea of how you can cancel tax season. Maybe what I'm about to describe is representative of you, but I talk to agents all day, every day, who have told me that when it gets to January, they start to sweat profusely. They start to kind of get nervous because they know they're going to have to go through this whole dog and pony show circus again, where they are maybe leafing through receipts. They are trying to pull up old bank statements. They are wondering where that one big expense that they meant to write off, where that went, where that receipt is, or they don't even know what they can be writing off. They don't really have the guidance. They talk to a person once a year, and that person gives them the worst possible surprise they can get in a year, which is a tax surprise. Nobody wants a tax surprise. I've talked to agents here in the last couple of years who have had the biggest years of their careers, just booming, knocked it out of the park, and then they get handed a tax bill, and it takes all the wind out of their sails because they weren't ready for that. They weren't able to predict. They didn't have predictability. They didn't have visibility into their back office. They didn't have guidance. So for the rest of this presentation, we're just going to share some ideas with you about how you can effectively and proactively start to cancel tax season. One thing that stands out to me, one of the best sound bites I've ever heard from an agent ever. I spoke to a woman in Orlando about a year ago right now, and I said, "How are you feeling about tax time?" And she said, "Honey, taxes are due every day. Every single day is tax time." But by putting systems in place, she knew that she could incrementally deal with it throughout the year. So the idea of tax season could be canceled. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And Amanda, we've got some strategies, and I think you wanted to share some of those ideas.
Yes, and right before we joined this call, we were having some small talk about taxes, and I'll be the first to admit, I haven't filed my taxes for 2022 yet. And the reason why is because extensions are actually in service to you. And I know that there are small fees if you don't make a payment, but you can always make predictable estimated payments when you are keeping track of your expenses. The other thing to think about is that unlike school, we are not going to be reprimanded for asking for an extension on our homework. And instead, what it does is it truly allows you the time that you need and your professional to uncover every unturned stone when it comes to your household, your dependents, your FICA taxes, your retirement contributions, depreciation I saw came up in the chat, really making sure that all of your options are serving you the best. So if you haven't filed an extension, file an extension. That would mean that tax season looks like, instead of March 15th for our business filers, those who are already filing as S corporations, we're going to move you back into September. And then for those who are filing during personal, instead of it being April 18th this year, you'd be able to move this all the way back into October. And so that is something to keep in mind. Those extra 6 months do give you more opportunity to review. So go in there, file an extension, ask for an extension, make a small payment so that way you can mitigate some fees, and then start working with your team to really start looking at your expenses. I saw earlier that somebody asked about what the best tools are for capturing expenses as a real estate agent. We've got some favorites here at Formations. We partner with Xero, which is a fantastic bookkeeping software. What we love at Formations is that you can also pair it with Mile IQ. So that way you're tracking your mileage. Is it a mileage deduction or is it vehicle deduction? These are all conversations we want to have with you as you're planning for your taxes. And really, when it comes to maximizing your expenses, make sure that you are thoroughly pulling in all of your personal business use of homes that are accruing every month that you're making payments on that you can pull in. When's the last time you looked at your square footage and brought some of your mortgage in? What about all of that phone bill and internet that you need while you're making your marketing materials happen and you're doing your hopefully 30 minutes of admin after that open house in the weekend? I know it's hard to get to those things, but entering in your clients' names that you meet and your contacts, any tool that you're using should be used as a deduction. And if you're not capturing those because it's too much for you to handle, partner with us or somebody that can help you make sure that those aren't being left on the table just because it's inconvenient. And I say that not lightly because I know how busy you are. And it's like having a fourth job between following your leads and listing, being a marketer, taking out the trash sometimes, being a photographer, coordinating with stagers, being a therapist to your clients. I know that you do a lot. So I think that don't leave yourself out of the game. And really, if it's time to leverage somebody to help you with your expenses, that's a worthwhile investment for your peace of mind and also for your taxes. We talked about tracking mileage versus vehicle already. So the next key strategy for 2022 is to look at your retirement contributions. You should be maximizing with extra cash flow every opportunity you have. And I know that retirement does look different for each individual, but if you're maxing out your SEP or your IRAs, it might be time for us to have a conversation where we do look at the S corporation and we consider a solo 401k to maximize cash contributions that then learn and compound interest, but then also lower your tax bracket come personal filing season. So there's so many strategies that almost nest within one another that you should be looking at and considering. Schedule C versus Schedule E, you will have some businesses that can't be an S corporation because of state regulations or because of the type of income that they are, but it doesn't mean that you can't maximize on these different schedules and make sure that your whole financial well-being and picture is included. So if you have somebody that can't handle your Schedule C properties or your rentals, have a conversation with us. It's all something that we like to talk about because we know that you have so many different hands in different cookie jars when it comes to real estate. So it's not all going to look the same, but talk to somebody who really knows your industry and knows what you have going on. The last option for those who already have an LLC in place is the concept of a late S election. This almost sounds like magic when we talk about it, but for any of those who have had an LLC and have not filed their taxes during the year of you having an LLC for your real estate business, you may actually be able to retroactively add on the S election to your existing LLC. So that $19,000 that we were talking about for our one client, if you have a couple of year back taxes and also an LLC, please, let's talk about the late S election, because that could be $40,000 of savings right there. So anyway, those are some of my top high hits that I want you to think about. Please write those down. And if it's not having a conversation with us, have that conversation with your trusted professional, because those, I guarantee, will give you some things to look at to restructure your position to taxes. Okay, I know that was fast and furious, but really, I wanted to make sure that you were set for 2022 with the extension. But for those of us who really feel it right now, because we're actually straddling 2 years, we have 2022 that we're filing for, but it's March, it's almost April. We've probably already had some transactions happen in 2023. So what do we do for now? I like to use the analogy of, well, and this is quite a visual, so sorry about it, but I like to use the analogy of triage. When you have a patient that comes in and is bleeding, the first thing that you have to do is stop the bleeding, and then you can evaluate the situation. So for those of you who have business happening, have transactions happening, what we want to do is we want to make sure that you can prevent any future financial loss through taxes by at least getting great bookkeeping in place and separating your business banking. These are going to be some things that will really help you focus on what you need to do at hand. Something like setting up your business entity would be a great first conversation, because if you have a business entity like an LLC in place, there's a lot that you can do from there. So that would be my biggest thing that I want you to consider. But there's a few more other hot hits that I know, Patrick, you are so eager. This is one of your favorite topics, is the triage topic. So I'll let you go further.
Yeah, absolutely. So it can feel overwhelming, kind of not knowing where to start. And I think maybe the place to start is right back at the beginning. Most of the agents that I talk to when they get into the business have a very comprehensive education provided to them around how to work with buyers and sellers, and how to get a listing, and how to run an open house, how to do all of your marketing and all of the social media things, all of the kind of fun stuff that you signed up for. You want to help people achieve the dream of home ownership or building a portfolio and building their personal wealth. You love to connect with people. But when I talk to those same people about what kinds of education did you have in the beginning of your career about the importance of having a separate business bank account, or a system for tracking all of your receipts, the importance of having solid accounting, bookkeeping, and expense tracking in place, it's just kind of like crickets, right? And again, I have to just reiterate, as Amanda said previously, this is a no shame zone. We know that this isn't talked about very often. It's kind of an obnoxious elephant in the room. And so we're just going to start with some really basic things. This might be redundant for you if you've been doing this for a very long time. If this is redundant, then that's awesome. Go spread this gospel to other people in your office who might not know it. But for those of you who are like, how do I start? First and foremost, work with a professional that knows real estate. So you may have a CPA. I will call people and they'll say, you know what, I'm fine, I have a CPA. And frankly, I'd be surprised if you didn't. But I am surprised at the number of agents who I talk to who feel like their CPA doesn't understand what they can and should qualify for from a write-off standpoint as a real estate agent. So it may be time for you to find somebody who understands you and your specific situation a little bit better than maybe what you've worked with forever. I understand people will get into a routine working with folks because it's a comfortable thing, but make sure that you're working with a professional who understands real estate. Streamline your back office. This one is huge, and I can't overstate this enough. How many people, I wish we could do a show of hands, but how many of you right now would blush if we were talking and I asked you what your receipt tracking system was, and I said, is it a bucket or is it a manila folder? Some people that I talk to use bank statements at the beginning of the next year. And, you know, they just kind of like will pull out receipts or stuff them into that box. They will send that box to their CPA. They'll say a prayer and they'll hope for the best. But we know that hope isn't a great financial strategy. So streamlining your back office and going digital is a really, really simple process. First and foremost, if our CEO was here today, he would say, you absolutely, no matter what, need to have a separate business bank account. Separate your business and your personal assets. That will make your tracking 100% easier than if you have everything commingled. The other reason why that is so important, this is a scary topic, but because it's scary, it has to be talked about. If you were to get audited and you had all of your finances commingled, the IRS can go through everything. If you have your finances separated and your business is your business, you are going to be out of harm's way from that standpoint. So the very, very first step is to make sure that you get yourself a business bank account specific to your real estate business. The second piece, this is really simple also, is to get some kind of accounting software that connects to that business bank account. So anytime you have a transaction, whether it's a marketing expense, if it is a closing gift, if it is meals with clients, if you are paying for association fees or dues, whatever it is, for travel to different conventions, make sure that you have accounting software that's tied into your business bank account that captures all of that for you in real time. And what that will do for you is it'll completely eliminate the burden of having to keep receipts and untangle those receipts, because it will capture those expenses for you in real time and do a lot of that legwork for you. So go digital. Leverage predictive tax and accounting. That's a little bit of our sweet spot, and we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. But with predictability, we can help eliminate stress. So as I mentioned earlier, you might have had a huge year last year, and I might be speaking directly to you right now that you're looking at a huge tax bill going, I was not ready for this. But if you had predictability, if you had some better visibility into your back office, what would that mean for you moving forward? Get an LLC. Now in Texas, I understand that the ideas of having an LLC and then an S corporation, a little bit different than a lot of the other places that we work. For context, we serve over 900 real estate professionals all over the country right now. Texas likes to be who Texas is, right? You are exactly who you are. You are rugged, you're individual, and you do things your own way. So especially around LLCs and S corporations, you've got slightly different rules than what we run into in other places. And I know that having an S corporation, you have to have a broker's license in the state of Texas. Getting an LLC, you have to have broker sponsorship. So we know that some of that stuff is a little bit more nuanced than other places that we've been. But at bare minimum, if you can get an LLC for your real estate business, that will help provide a level of separation between your business and your personal assets that would protect you from a liability standpoint if you were ever to get sued. And then the last piece is to set financial goals. We know that what gets measured gets managed. And so setting these financial goals, having a system in place like Profit First. If you've not read that book, Profit First by Mike Kalowitz, I think I just butchered his last name, but that book is gospel and should be read, I think, by every single person who is a solopreneur. But set financial goals, create a system, leverage professionals, have separation, make sure that you're tracking everything digitally, and know that once you have done the legwork to set up these systems, you'll be able to really work with the peace of mind knowing that your system is going to work for you, and you can work with less stress and have more time back in your schedule, because once these systems are up and going, you don't have to worry so much about all of these tiny little details. So when we talk about forming an S corporation, for my brokers out there, I'm going to touch on this very briefly. But the main reason why we see people move into the S corporation is specifically for the tax savings. So by making the switch to an S corporation, if you were in the right income bracket, you can save as much as 60% on your self-employment tax. That ends up being huge on average. Our customers that we see move into an S corporation save anywhere between $11,000 to $18,000 a year on self-employment tax. That's not a small number. You can take advantage of having corporate benefits as if you were a W-2 employee, especially things like setting up a 401k, being able to run your health insurance through your business, setting up a flex spending account or a health savings account. So those are all really meaningful things that you can invest in that will help drive down your taxable income, but also give you benefits as if you were a W-2. The personal asset protection I touched on a little bit with the LLC. If something were to go sideways in the course of a real estate transaction and somebody wanted to sue you, having an LLC, they would only be able to sue for anything that might be in the business and not come after your personal assets, your portfolio. It is absolutely tantamount that you protect yourself that way. You have significantly less risk of an audit as an S corporation. So what we know is, as an S corp, you are 10 times less likely to be audited by the IRS. We know also that we are seeing a huge addition to the number of IRS agents here in the next several years, and so getting yourself out of harm's way, becoming an S corporation, having less risk of an audit is huge. And then the last piece, the additional credibility that goes along with having an LLC on your business card, I think just communicates to your buyers and sellers a level of commitment to your business, that you're not just a weekend hobby horse. You're not just doing real estate for kicks and giggles on Saturdays or Sundays, but really just shows your commitment to the business. And then very, very briefly, and if you have questions about this, again, I'm going to drop that meeting link into the chat, because we usually spend 30 to 40 minutes explaining the S corporation ins and outs, but how an S corporation works at a glance. If you were an individual who had a net income of $120,000, you, as an S corporation, are both the owner of as well as the employee of your business. And as the employee of your business, you would only pay your self-employment tax on your employee portion, this reasonable salary, as they call it. And so if you were a sole proprietor with a net income of $120,000, you would pay $18,360 in self-employment tax. But as an S corporation, you'd only pay $7,300, which would lead to an $11,000 tax savings. So there are a lot of nuances to that. Again, if you have questions, please don't hesitate. Book some time. Love to answer all of those questions. And so predictive tax and accounting is really what we're here to do. We leverage a system that's married with professional services and technology to help give our customers a way to have visibility, guidance, and automation for their back office. Because once you have those building blocks, those really cursory pieces in place, the separated business bank account, the LLC, the accounting software, we can help give you a system to measure and manage every single piece of your back office as well. And Amanda's going to talk a little bit more about that right now.
Absolutely. I can't say how excited I am to see the conversation in the chat. So many questions are coming through, and you're also answering for one another. So how special that we have this time that's dedicated for us to all share our experience and our knowledge. And if you do find that we are unable to get to your questions, know that we are diligently keeping track of them. So we will try to answer as many as we certainly can. I will give you a preview of what formations looks like if you're curious and you want to compare, but I also want to make sure that we have plenty of time later to address some of these hot happening questions. And if we don't get to them today, please know we'll try to answer as many as we can after the fact. The recording will be available, and book time, because I see questions about, I filed my taxes, do you do a review? we would be honored to do a complimentary tax analysis of any previous tax document you have. If you are curious and you do not know where to start, that is something that Formations would be happy to give you a second opinion on. So hopefully that's not offensive to anybody that we'd want to look at your taxes, but we would definitely give you a second opinion if you're just not sure. Part of the reason why is because we believe in full visibility and control. And so one of the things that we do at Formations is give you access to a bookkeeping tool that is automatic for you. You do not have to have a QuickBooks account and be the bookkeeper and upload your expenses and provide them to your tax preparer. That is something that we will do for you. Patrick, guess what? This is just a fun moment between you and I. My battery is going to die, so I'm going to go grab my charger really quick. Do you mind telling our good friends here about some of the expert advice we offer here at Formations? Because apparently it's not expert facilitation. Hold, please.
This is why we can't have nice things. Just kidding. No problem, Amanda. So our system is built on predictability, visibility, guidance, and automation. So at Formations, we have a platform for our customers to be able to see everything in a back office from a desktop, on a desktop in a dashboard standpoint. So we're able to automate all of the bookkeeping, payroll, retirement solutions so that you can go and spend more time on dollar producing activities and not outdated spreadsheets or missed transactions. I had seen earlier in the chat, somebody had asked if we could send you a spreadsheet. And if a spreadsheet is what you're working with right now, high five, that's a really great place to start. But if we can help automate some of those functions so that we can save you time so that you're not having to put every single little transaction into that spreadsheet, what is that time back in your schedule worth to you? Expert advice. Amanda, it seems like you're back. We back? You want to talk about the expert advice that we offer?
I sure do. I'm raring to go to speak to this. So part of the expert advice that we add is we want you to be able to be the broker, to be the real estate professional that not only has access to great bookkeeping, but also can look at a profit and loss balance sheet to have the ability to look great on paper. Somebody asked if being an S corporation meant that you have more risk legally. No, actually, because you have more transparency and you're agreeing with the IRS to structure yourself as a business and provide the data and information of where your income and expenses are happening, you actually are in a better position because you know at any given point what your business is worth. If you need a loan, you can provide all of the documentation quickly. I talked to somebody once who spent 2 weeks trying to really quickly put together a profit and loss balance sheet, and they weren't very confident at their skills to do it. They got it done, but what if you could show up to any meeting ready with your profit and loss balance sheet? What does that profit and loss balance sheet mean? Being able to compare and look at the data month over month, because sometimes it is feast or famine. And if you do want to understand how to plan for your taxes prior to the tax filing season, because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, then this will give you the conversation that you need to have with your business partners, yourself, with your tax preparers. And we have a whole team of enrolled agents, bookkeepers, CPAs, tax attorneys. Everybody is specialized here in self-employment and can really help you maximize. So not only do you have all of this crucial information that you don't have right now, you also get to pair it with people who are really passionate about using that to grow and scale and leverage your business. The next thing that I think is important to touch on is looking at, from here, you have your visibility, you have your expert advice. You know, this was a lot of information and we're not done yet because we're going to go into Q&A, and so there'll be more information. But just to recap, so that way you're walking out with a clear path forward. What do I do? So these are some steps that we think work really well. It's a playbook that is going to give you a roadmap of what you can do. 1, business assessment and cleanup. Complimentary, schedule time with us. We can learn a little bit about you, your situation, your business, and we can let you know for your state, for your credentials, what is the right business structure and how to get there. Do we need to clean things up? I heard back taxes. I've heard it before. It's okay. It happens. Payment plans. What does that look like? Schedule time with us. Let's have that conversation and let's see what we can do now to set you up. What if moving to the S corporation and getting a handle on your deductions and your finances gives you more cash to pay off that plan faster? That's some financial freedom. That's exciting. That's actually what I wake up for. I'm not kidding. I'm getting goosebumps on all of my hair right now. So this is what we really want to aim to do, is help you understand what you can do. Tax optimization, structure, separation of financials. Truly, if you want to have separation, a business entity and a bank account that's opened up with the business entity's tax ID is going to be separate than your Social Security. So we want to make sure that you're getting those structures in place, how you really need to get them done so that they can fully support you in case of legal or whatever. But we also want to make sure that it makes sense for where you're at. If you just started, you might not be ready for our service, and that's okay. We'll tell you. You might need something else right now. You might be retiring soon and you're not sure if you should keep an S corporation or make that change or not. We want to help you optimize the structure. We want to give you separate financials, you versus your business, so you have very clean data that you can track. Like Patrick spoke to earlier, we want to automate some of this because you're busy with other meetings. So if we can put this all under one roof and there's fewer appointments to book with your bookkeeper, to get your payroll, to get to your tax preparer, having this all automated in one roof will really help streamline your experience. We want to try to do automation as much as possible. But really what makes it different here at Formations for us is the ongoing management and support. When was the last conversation that you had with your tax preparer that gave you advice? Can you book those meetings? Fun fact, for every 5 accountant that is going to retire over the next 5 years, there will only be 1 tax professional, because it's a little bit of a dying industry, to replace them. So is your accountant retiring soon? What do you have as your backup plan? How long do you plan to be in business? Let's make sure that you have the ongoing management and insights that you need, such as quarterly updates, which is point number 5. Even if you met with a tax professional 4 times in the year for quarterly business insights and tax planning, what would be those 4 different pieces of advice that you could action, and how could those impact your position? That might be enough to start with, or you might be hungry for more. But what could 4 different key insights for your business do for your tax position? Annual prep and filing is something that we do. So make sure that you're always having somebody who can support all of this. This is what we really aim to do to get people set up and squared away for a program here at Formations. And we find that it really works for those who are not ready to start. So, it really just brings us to the idea for 2023 and canceling tax season is that it begins today. It's top of mind for you. That's why you tuned in. So don't let it fall to the wayside like a good New Year's resolution. Don't let this go while it's on the front burner for you. Have those conversations. Think about scheduling time with us or your other professional that you trust, but do it while you're thinking of it, because it's so easy for another year to roll by and for it to be too late because you didn't create that business structure early in the year that would really unlock some tax savings for you. I think those are my biggest. Please do these. Make sure you jot that down. I think you had some closing outburst comments, thoughts too, Patrick.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite phrases that I have. I've been telling agents now for a while, don't FSBO your finances. And I know that that resonates with a lot of you. You're driving, you see somebody selling their house FSBO, you want to rush in and help them right now because you know that you can help them make anywhere between another 15 to 25 or 30% on their house. Just because somebody gets on Google and they look up how they sell their house doesn't mean that they know all of the parts and pieces that you do that go into a successful transaction, and being able to show the house and being able to work with buyers and sellers, bring better people. And you know that they're just trying to save maybe 3 or 6%, but they're leaving 15 or 20% on the table. Am I right? It's the exact same thing when it comes to your bookkeeping as well. I talk to people every single day who say, I've got it, I can do my books. But is that really the best use of your time? If you think about it, if you spend an hour or 2 hours a week, if you spend 2 hours a week, you're that person who is, you're not the shoebox person. Good for you. You've got a level of organization. You love QuickBooks. You love color coding all of your transactions, and you like adding categories, and you've got a spreadsheet, and you might have like a weird relationship with spreadsheets. No judgment. But you're that person. You're spending 2 hours a week. That's 100 hours a year of your time that you're spending that could be sent to another person. So I remember very recently I spoke to a woman who was making about $150,000 a year, makes her time worth about $75 an hour. And we were able to just work backwards and say, you know, if we were able to put so much of this back into your schedule right now, what would that equal from a time value? You know, and so she did the math, and if we're able to cut that down by 80%, then she's able to save like $6,000 just in the cost that she is spending doing the books by herself. But more importantly than that, if she is spending 100 hours doing that, if I can give her most of that time back, what does that equal from being able to go out and get another listing and potentially getting another transaction? If her average sales price, she said, was $400,000 a year, that's another $12,000 to $24,000 potentially in commission that she could be putting in her pocket by getting that time back. So don't FSBO your finances. Who do you trust? Have you evaluated your back office? Who do you go to for financial advice? And when was the last time that you got a second opinion? And really, this is part of the value add that we wanted to be able to bring today too. Would you be offended if I offered you the opportunity to get a second opinion on your taxes? So I saw somebody earlier say in the chat, I've already got my 2022 taxes done. I haven't submitted them yet. How much would it cost for me to get a second opinion? And the answer is it's free. We will have our team, if you're interested, if you scan that QR code, it will take you to a link, a secure upload link for us to take a second look and give you a second opinion on your taxes and how you might be able to do things a little bit better this year. So if you have questions, if you've always just kind of wondered, let us offer that to you as a value add. And with that, we've made it. So one question that I want to answer, because I saw this come up several times. I'm a new agent. Like, what are some things that I can do right now? I'm not ready for an LLC, or they think I'm not ready for an S Corp, obviously, but 3 things that you can do right now, because I think it's never too early to set up an LLC for your real estate business. Have a separate business bank account, and then get some automated accounting software, whether it's QuickBooks or the platform that we utilize for our customers. It's called Xero. It's Xero. It's a monthly subscription for $14 a month. You can have that track all of those expenses for you, and then have better visibility into your back office. So those 3 things right there, I think, are going to be really, really great. LLC, separate business bank account, tracking software, boom. You've already got a better foundation than 90% of the people that I talk to on a day-to-day basis. And it really is a good foundation for creating a system. So on behalf of Amanda and myself, I just want to say thank you so much. I have done probably 100 of these now, and this is by far the most interactive group I have ever spoken with. I cannot believe the volume of questions. Rita, these agents are phenomenal. These brokers are phenomenal. I love they're hungry for knowledge, that they want to do better, because I know if they do better for themselves, they can do better for their agents. So thank you so much for the opportunity. And we just want to open this up for questions right now.
Yeah, I know. We're very vocal and social. So we're appreciative of the information that you can provide us. I think there is a lot of confusion, you know, just the right process for people that are going into being self-employed, you know, and just trying to understand where they need to start and go. So I know that I saw lots of questions in the chat. Maybe they logged in a little bit late. We are going to send the recording of today's webinar along with the slides to everyone. We'll also provide the link for that you've been dropping in the chat to set up appointments. And then if there's any additional details for the webinar today that you guys want to include, Patrick or Amanda, we'll incorporate that too. Just send it over. I know that there was lots of questions about S Corp and LLCs, and it sounds like you kind of got to most of those things. And I know that there's more specifics that you have to dive into with each person because it will vary depending on their circumstance. So I think that's where it's important to kind of have that one-on-one dialogue. I know early on you were talking about the extensions and looking at if you already have payment plans in place and all of that. And I think you got to it, but do you might have just want to recap on that talking point about folks that have already set up, you know, payment plans and things, and are they still eligible for extensions and that sort of thing? Amanda, could you maybe expand on
was
that?
it to me? So sorry, I was waiting.
Okay, sorry.
That's what happens when you wait and sit on your hands. So for those of you who have a payment plan in place, it's important to look at the fine print of your agreement because it might be a case-by-case scenario. So I want to ensure that you are always returning back to your agreement. You can always log into your account with the IRS and look at the historicals. When you think about payment plans and future financial loss, it is always something that you can do. You can always set up an LLC and an S corporation according to the state board and the parameters for your industry to prevent your future financial loss. So if you are in a position where you owe back taxes, you have a payment plan in place, it is not a prohibitive factor for you to file an extension if it's in your bounds, and then also set up a different structure for yourself so that way you can change your tax position. So just because you have back taxes and you have a payment plan, that is not the reason alone why you can't change your structure and do something different for your tax position. If you're not sure where to go or where to look, please lean on us, reach out to us. We are here to help clarify that for you. And we would be honored to give you more clarity into your particular situation because each can be a little bit unique. So hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that, you know, again, I know there was a lot of questions about the LLC and the S Corp, and I think you addressed them and talked about the individuality of those scenarios. I'm looking, there was some questions about a book that was mentioned. It looks like somebody chatted in and assisted you guys with supporting that content. I know that, let's see, I'm assuming, and we've talked about these one-on-one appointments, there's no cost associated with it. It's more of just an assessment.
Completely complimentary. And it really just, it's a privilege for us to be able to share this information with you. So there's no obligation inside of these meetings either. We'll talk a little bit about the service that we offer, but we are not a pushy crowd by any means. We just want to help. I spoke to a woman about 6 weeks ago who was 3 years behind on taxes. She owed $60,000. She'd been set up as an S corporation, but or she had an LLC, but we were able to move her into an S corporation because of her specific circumstance, and we saved her $40,000, which was like a life-changing thing for her. So your situation might not be that dire. You might just have some questions. You might want to bounce some ideas off of us. By all means, please spend some time with us. I think you get the sense from this conversation, both Amanda and my personality is not aggressive. We really just want to lead with value, and we take such pride in being able to provide any kind of relief that we can, whether that's a little bit of stress relief, or if you just have that itch that you need to scratch and ask that question, by all means. But it's such a privilege for us to be able to work with HAR and the stellar organization that you are. We are just here and excited to help.
And I think that somebody had asked in the chat, we appreciate that. Sally had asked about what are the qualifications for getting an LLC? How do you get one? Can y'all share that information a little bit? I think you did cover some, but
yeah. So you book with through the through the Texas Secretary of State's office. And I know in Texas that the caveat is that you need to have your broker sign off on that for you as well. So talk about that with your broker if you haven't already. There are some agents. You know, I talked to a gal very recently with a commercial real estate agency, and her company didn't want the agents to have LLCs, only brokers. So I know that there can be some variation in that. If you still have questions, we can look into the specifics of your situation. And if I don't have an answer right now, I promise I won't lead you astray. We'll connect you with a resource who can help answer that question. But in Texas, you just need to have your broker sign off on that for you.
Thank you for that. And then there was some question. No, I'm sorry, there's no QR code. Sorry, Constance, this is not a CE. It's just you don't need to log in. There's consultations available, so there's no charge for that. And then you are not local in Texas, but you are specialized in Texas taxes and processes and law that associate with all the things that they would have to know about being self-employed and setting up all of this process. So I think that was a question. And there's, you know, I know that there is a lot of questions and we are answering the ones that we can that aren't individualized. So if there's something that we're not covering, feel free to shoot us a message and we're happy to do that. I did want to mention that we are going to host 2 additional webinars in this series. April 20th will be our next webinar. It will be the same timeline. I think Amanda and Patrick will be back with us. And this will be talking about back office systems and why they matter. And you know, what do we call it? Hope is not a strategy, a financial strategy. So we're going to talk about that, putting systems in place to treat your business like a business and not just a hobby, because I know that that's not how you guys feel about your business. So we'll put the link to that webinar in the chat. I think Teresa just posted it. It's free, just like this one is. And then we'll be covering some of that content. So we will stay on the line just for a little bit longer if there's any additional questions. But I appreciate everybody for participating, being here, listening in on this important topic. And then if you have any questions, we'll stay on, or you're welcome to shoot us a message afterwards. Like I said, one more time, we will get you the copy of this via email, and it'll also be housed on our HAR TV YouTube channel. So with that, we'll just stay on, and everybody else, y'all are welcome to go and have a great rest of the week. Good luck, U of H, in the final, in the March Madness. So.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go, Houston. Don't
That's
bust
right.
my bracket, please.
If your bracket isn't busted yet, I'm impressed.
Me too. This has been a doozy.
This has been the first time that my bracket has ever been out from the start. I was just like, what?
Don't think you were alone this year. This is, part of season.
Right. Monica, we'll put the link back in. If you can't click through, then we can send you, we'll send the direct link, Monica, in the email as well. So you'll have access to it if you're having problems with that. What is the difference between a business credit card account and a bank account?
Absolutely. Anytime you are thinking about banking, because I did see this coming up quite a bit, where do I go, what bank? And for each person, it will be a little bit personalized on what bank can support your business and your cash flow. If there are fees or something that you have to keep in your bank account and it doesn't match where your business is at right now, please consider that. Another thing that we advise on too is checking into how strong the computer and API system is for your business banking of choice. The reason why is because if they don't have a strong computer system, sometimes credit unions, as much as I love them, they don't have the budget to build up their computer software programs. That might mean you have a broken system between your bookkeeping software, whether it be QuickBooks or Xero or a different provider, and your business bank account. So if it drops the connection and you miss out on a month of expenses, it's not really changing your experience at all for automation. Like Patrick was talking about. Whenever you are looking at the difference between a dedicated business account versus an actual business account, a big point of difference is going to be whether it's opened up with your Social Security or your business's tax EIN. If it's opened up with your Social Security, but you're only using it for business, that's a good first step. But as far as paper goes and the IRS is concerned, it's all your Social Security. So there's really no difference between the assets that are being paid and purchased with that business credit versus yours. So if you really want to protect your business versus your personal assets, you want to make sure that everything that you're opening up and using is going to be with tax EIN as best you can. So those are some of the key differences that you're looking at when you're looking at banking. I love all these questions because if we can use this to customize and curate next episode, I know that that's what Patrick and I are going to be excited to do, is take these questions and build it into some more content.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think they were, there's a few more questions about, do you use a third-party system, or is the software you run incorporate into your own business structure? And I think it's probably built out as your own, right? You are the the system, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then I had to answer the question, difference between XERO and QB, QuickBooks.
Yeah, so the difference between Xero and QuickBooks, they each have a little bit different functionality. I think materially from the user interface and user experience, they're very, very similar. Cost, I think, is a big differentiator. Xero, we found, is less expensive, but has much, if not all, of the same functionality. So again, if you're just getting started and you're trying to find something to connect to that business bank account, Xero is really a great place to start. So
great. And then you mentioned checking with the broker to sign to approve for an LLC check. Is this the same with an S corp, or does it matter?
It's our understanding in the state of Texas that you have to have your broker's license to be an S corporation. There's still tax strategies that we can help people who have LLCs employ to help them save money on their taxes. But to become an S corp fully in the state of Texas, you need to be a broker or have your broker's license.
Okay, that's good information. What is the time frame? Do you have any idea for setting up the S corp?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the process for setting up the S corporation, after you have your LLC, you file what's called a Form 2553 with the IRS. We do this for all of our customers who want to become S corporations. Once that's filed, unless the IRS tells you to kick rocks, for all intents and purposes, you are an S corporation. It usually takes a few weeks for that to come back, as backup as the IRS is. But because you submit the form and you tell them that's how you intend to structure your business, unless you are in major trouble with the IRS, that's usually not a problem. So
if you have made your LLC and not formed an S corporation, there is a small window in which you want to make sure that you are filing that. So 3 years and 75 days. After that, it's worth having a conversation to see if there's something else we can do to support you. But that's the typical timeline for, I have an LLC and it was my intention to file as an S corporation. Don't wait too long.
Great. I don't understand this question, but maybe you will. In Texas, using sole benefits of bank and taxes, question mark. I don't know what they're asking.
I'm not quite sure.
Not sure either.
Carmelita,
love
can
to talk
you
about it
expand
further
on your question?
Yeah.
As I think maybe asking what the benefits of being a sole proprietor are.
Maybe.
And the benefit of being a sole proprietor is that you work for yourself and you can earn as much money as you'd like. But from a tax standpoint, that's really how they get you. So.
Okay. Somebody had questions about pricing, a price point for an LLC versus an S corp.
Yeah, there are different admin fees. So this is always good to have a conversation too, depending on what your budget is and what you can allocate. There are points where the S corporation makes sense and doesn't make sense for individuals. So that's part of what we do for consulting, is to ensure that the amount of net income that you have that will be taxed will also supply you with an ROI. We would hate for you to take on all the extra admin work of now quarterlies are not just nice to do, they're mandatory. You have fees and penalties if you don't. You do have to file payroll and make sure that you're taking on that payment. So you do need a provider for payroll, and that can add on additional costs for expenses of doing business. And now you have an additional tax form, the 1120S. So it's not just a 1040 with a Schedule C or E attached to it, but it is an additional tax filing deadline and document. So with that in place, we do want to advise people on when you should be an S corporation versus when you should be an LLC. It changes for each person. So that's something that we want to have a conversation, not because we don't want to tell you, it's just that it can be unique depending on. Typically, if you are seeing around 70 net, 80 net, let's have a conversation about S corporation, because it's probably going to be fruitful for you. But again, everybody's unique. So we want to make sure that we're giving you the right guidance.
And Renita had asked, do you need the LLC first if your end goal is an S corp?
Yes.
You do. Yep. You cannot be a sole proprietor filing as an S corporation. It's technically your business that is filing as an S corporation.
Okay. So Tara, there's no sign out. You just leave whenever you're ready. We're just funneling questions at this point. This is not a CE approved course. It's just an informational overview of content. So you're welcome to leave whatever you want.
Yes, we'll stay. We're not
We'll
holding
stay.
you
We've
here,
got about,
but
I think we were scheduled till 1:30. So as we see people asking questions, we'll keep on. But it looks like we're losing some folks now. So maybe let me look and see if there's any additional questions. Do we in Texas need broker approval to have file as an LLC or just to operate under a business name?
Yeah, so your broker needs to sign off on your LLC for you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions? I think maybe I've missed. There was a lot of comments and questions, so try to go back through and scroll up. So if I missed you, let me know and we'll revisit. Let's see. To operate or to file. I think it's
essentially one and the same. You wouldn't file if you didn't have that entity in place. And then I think somebody did ask too, seems to be not applicable if you don't have a broker's license. That can be true for Texas, but even if you're not doing the S corporation, there's still a lot of tax strategy that can happen from proper deductions, cash flow management, retirement contributions. So there's still a lot of tax advantages that are available for those who are moving into the LLC place. If you're a sole proprietor and you're just not sure yet what's right for you, or you just started and you're still not sure, we do not care if you are brand new. Please do not be bashful. If this is day one in your business and you still aren't sure what path you want to take with your business, that's okay. Let's talk.
Okay, somebody said, what do LLC fees look like? Are there annual fees?
So for LLC fees, you will file and create an LLC. So that'll be your first charge. The second one will be any renewal, or what we sometimes call the franchise tax. And so essentially that means I'm an LLC, and after a certain point of having it, I need to renew it with the state of Texas. So you will have that fee as well. There might be quarterly income percentages that we need to watch out for too, but then that changes on how much your income is. So that can be a more personalized conversation as well.
Okay, I'm trying to find, I think there was a question that Renita asked me to go back to. If you recently purchased a vehicle in your personal name, can you refinance the vehicle in your LLC or S corp?
Vehicles are really nuanced, so let's schedule some time to talk about that, or let's add that into our business expenses and back office conversation for next session, because we could do the way that S corporation can be a 30-40 minute, vehicles for real estate can be a whole 30 or 40 minute strategy as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. And then let's see, I'm telling you, if you give them a platform, they're going to ask.
I love
We have
it.
a property management webinar. We have a series for property management, and poor Paula Cleveland, and she got questions. It was like she was on Jeopardy, but we appreciate you guys. Somebody asked, I'm using my personal bank and credit to pay for things. If I were to get an LLC, then open my new account under my business name, EIN number, could all those payments be moved under my LLC?
Prior to, no. So it would be a clean start, but now is better than, next year.
Yeah.
You'll file a W-9, anyone that you are receiving payments. So that way you're accepting payments into the business versus into your name. But right now it's almost like a before and after.
Okay. And then I think Carlos had asked, are you able to help file personal taxes now, or is it too late? I don't think it's too late. I think it's okay now.
It's definitely not too late. The only thing for us at this point in the year may be a capacity issue, and so we just have to check with our tax team. The last thing that we want to do is overpromise and underdeliver. So for 2022, we may be able to help out. We just have to take a look, and it's on a case-by-case basis. So.
And then Pamela asked, if you have a real estate business in Louisiana and Texas, what does the LLC look like?
Foreign registration. So that's a conversation of where you live, where your businesses are registered, and how we can help with all of those different state and federal taxes. So LLC is always state to consider, and then federal S corporation, that's another thing that we can look at. So let's definitely, if you're operating in more than one state, talk.
And I know that you said that the vehicle issue can be a sticky topic, but Patty asked, if you don't have an LLC and operating as a sole proprietor, can a vehicle purchase for business purposes be fully deducted?
So vehicle deductions, I can try to keep it simple for now, but then let's talk. It will depend on some very specific things for real estate, like how much does the car weigh can be in place. Is car cost the best deduction, or is mileage? Because you have to choose one or the other. And so that's why it can be kind of a tricky situation if you're not set up to track your miles, or maybe something happens to your health and you don't do as much driving and moving around. That might change whether or not you should take the vehicle deduction or the mileage deduction. So that's something where it can really become an interesting conversation. So yes, you can take it as a deduction, but would you rather do that or your mileage? I don't know. I'll have to talk to you to find out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Thanks, Patty.
How do you get your broker to sign off on you filing an LLC as a sole proprietor? Is there a form? I think that they're asking. Is there some sort of documentation?
Oh yeah, because I've heard that whiskey was really great for that, but I don't know if that's advisable. Yeah, there would be a form, and so you would have to talk to your broker for that, and then usually a W-9 is where you can go to receive payments through your business versus how you've been traditionally receiving them to you personally.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think we're rounding out. We've got a few more minutes as everybody looks like we've kind of filtered through, and we've sent the link, and we'll send it out if people want to have more one-on-one conversations. So y'all are going to be busy. How do you set up a W-9? I think you get the form.
Yeah.
Our next class is on April 20th. It'll be a webinar. It'll be from 12 to 1:30. And it's on our EDU site. We've also dropped it in the link in the chat, and then we'll send the direct link out following this webinar as well.
Thank you so much, friends. This has been fantastic. And
thank you. Thank you for answering all of our candid questions.
Of course.
It's important.
What we're here for. We appreciate the participation. Sometimes we get to the question and answer, and it's just like an awkward silence where you're like, okay, well, but y'all have been wonderful. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay, you guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and round it out, end it. And then, like I said, we'll send everything out. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Amanda. We appreciate your time, and we'll talk soon.
Good to see you. Okay. Y'all have a great day. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.